Morning, it's Friday, January 11th, and today gonna little update on writing and my schedule around that, my plan for the end of this month, writing tip, game session update, fun one about circus freaks and betrayals, and then a little story time, something about some snapping turtles from my youth. So I'm uh, doing some money earning attempts in the wee hours of the morning to make up for some shortfalls until my schedule is settled. I won't be releasing anything, but I believe I'll be back to a semi-regular release schedule towards the end of the month. That's my goal. I expect to achieve it. This game session, writing tip, probably do the order I stated. So I've got someone reviewing one of my books who learned English as a second language, and that's a reminder to me to be wary of what I understand to be called purple language, basically being fancy when you don't need to be, being complicated when you don't need to be, showing off your skills, your English language skills, using those bigger words when you could have used a simpler one and been just as effective, or phrasing, or in any way trying to flex your English muscles at the expense of communication, at the expense of communicating quicker and clearer to more people. There's probably more English as a second language speakers than there are English speakers. So it only makes sense if you want your stuff to be read to make it readable by that audience as well. So it's something for me to keep more in mind as I write. Game session. Belazar's Betrayal. Circus Town came to harmless Hamlet. I had a full house -1 of players, and I had set up a circus just outside the harmless hamlet that the characters had founded, the settlement the characters had founded, because it was a settlement now and understood, established trade, word had spread, then certain rules clicked into place. And this ringmaster was able to use the circus town nexus rules. It's like another dimension, it's a circus dimension, to bring the circus to town and set up shop with his weird witches and fire fist monks and ridiculously strong man, jugglers of blades and rhyming trapeze artists, and a menagerie of every creature and more that the party has ever faced. Subdued and outside and just sitting there. And so the party interacts. Nothing happens really. They're cautious. They figure out the rules that restrict what the operators can do. They got to basically follow the rules of the settlement, and they're staying. So they're everything's hunky dory. I prepared all this. It looked like it was just gonna be kind of a waste, But that's what happens when you're a game master, and you want it to be a sandbox and free flowing. And then something beautiful happened. One of the players with his character, Belazar, with the character Belazar, decided to take the baby that had, um, let's just say, come into the party's hands. That was in a curious way to, in the middle of the night, to the weird sisters in the circus tent. And it set off a chain of events that was fairly intense. Went a little over time, and it was exciting. It was just such a, and this happened the end of the session Sunday, so Betrayal stretched throughout the whole day, and then had a nice long um, role playing and a little bit of fighting for Monday. It was a lot of fun, and I'll definitely be mining that for some short story potential as I get caught up in the coming months. I also forgot to mention this. My Destiny Hand first self-publication, I'm thinking of, instead of just rewriting the whole book as a novel, maybe breaking it up and rewriting it as a series of short stories or flash fiction. Going scene by scene, chapter by chapter, and instead of trying to just pour endless time into making the whole thing work by the standards that I have now, making it work piece by piece and just seeing how it goes there. And I think that might work because I had, I think, 5 point of view characters in it rather than the one that that I do now, just to keep things simpler as I refine my mastery. Yeah, okay, story time. In my early teenage years, I lived on a farm, in a mobile home on a farm. This was a inexpensive survival kind of situation, and there was a pond with these rafts, not intended for play. And I would get rashes when I would lay on them. But we would, me and a kid who also lived on the farm in a house, we would spend endless hours playing in the pond, going around like alligators, laying on the rafts, walking around. And then one day, a man came with nylon rope and shark hooks, and he staked the rope in, and he put chicken gizzards on the shark hooks, and he tossed 1, 2, 3 into the pond. And me and my friend were like, what are you doing? He said, oh, well, I paid the owner of this farm to get some snapping turtles. You kids don't swim in here, do you? Because there's snapping turtles, and they're not they're the dinosaur kind. And like we knew the kind of snapping turtles in this area really were like dinosaurs. Their heads would go around, like they didn't look like normal turtles. Their heads, I think, never even pulled all the way back into their body. If you've ever seen them, they're massive and they're very scary. And apparently, the pond was infested with them somehow. Our toes had survived, so we did not continue our activities. We'd been doing this for a couple of years. That was it. That was essentially it. I couldn't quite bring myself to stick my toes in the mud anymore. But I did ride my bike about 7 miles to go to a friend of my dad's, get some shark hooks and chicken gizzards, tie up some nylon rope, and catch myself a snapping turtle. Proud as I was, my parents were a little iffy, but they embraced it. My dad got a .22 pistol, shot it in the head, didn't kill it, had to end up using a machete and just cut its head off. My mom worked diligently for a long time to make some snapping turtle soup, and it was awful. Apparently, you're supposed to capture them and then feed them corn, and you can't just eat them right away. So, lesson learned. If you're going to catch a snapping turtle, feed it corn, and don't stick your toes in the mud. Yeah. Have a good week.